Good morning, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the December 17th, 2020 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for Shawnee County, Kansas. I'm joined this morning by Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, and Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. Due to COVID, we're conducting our regular meeting in a virtual format again. Please mute your phone or computer until it's your time to speak. Each time that you do speak, please try to announce your name and title if you're a county employee or official. This will help the public follow along with who is speaking at any particular time. If you're a member of the public and you need accommodations to listen to participate in the meeting, please contact the County Commission office at 785-251-4040. That's 785-251-4040, or email the commission office at commission.mail@snco.us. That's commission.mail@snco.us. If you'll all mute your phones, I will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will do roll call votes again today, but Madam Clerk, what say you?
First item is item 1, proclamations, presentations. Number 1, Great Overland Station report by Parks and Recreation Advisory and Advocate Board.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. So if you remember, approximately 6 months ago when we entered into this lease to operate the Great Overland Station, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board was instrumental in setting up that lease and working through that process. And then once we actually took over operations, a subcommittee was formed from advisory board members, and those 3 individuals, along with myself and a few other staff, met several times over the next 6 months to talk about the operations of Great Overland Station, what the opportunities were, some of the perceived issues that we might run into. And that group would like to present their findings to us today. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Terry Roberts, who's also the chair of the advisory board committee. Thank you, Terry.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Terry Roberts, and I'm a registered nurse. My day job is I'm executive director of the American Holistic Nurses Association, and I serve as chair of the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. I also served on the task force. We called it the Great Overland Station Task Force, and we have 2 of our members who are going to present the majority of that report. The report that you saw with the agenda is an overview. We have exhibits, and so as a matter of completeness, we have given the exhibits and the entire documents for the record so that all the historical documents are included. The other 2 individuals, Joe Ledbetter, who is on the advisory committee, he chaired this. He is a community attorney, and Laura Burton, who is the Director of Marketing and Development with the Children's Discovery Center. She will be doing the second part of the presentation. Joe.
Joe, we're not hearing you.
Joe, there's another alternative. There's numbers at the bottom of the Zoom. If you call into one of those numbers, we'll be able to hear you. He's still talking to us like we could hear him. So why don't we go to Laura's? Would that be okay if we have Laura Burton? I don't see Laura Burton on.
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. I'm sorry. She's in mask. Yeah, she's probably at her office. Okay.
Indeed.
Laura, you go ahead and I'll try to get Joe on the phone. So he's in here too. Thank you.
I'm happy to go ahead. That does omit some of the background information that might help inform my pieces of it, but that's okay. So know that Joe will fill us in on a little bit more about Great Overland Station, some of the things that are present there, some of the workload. My pieces of this report were really geared towards my areas of expertise, which is mostly fundraising, events, and how to make best use of the space. So a lot of those recommendations help inform the Board of County Commissioners in terms of the potential of the space, but of course that stuff will be executed by Parks and Rec and Parks and Rec Foundation. So Joe will cover the potential, the historical overview, the potential challenges, those pieces of the report. For my pieces, I really looked into, and the committee discussed a lot, potential event fundraising streams. So how this building can be an asset to our community. And there were a couple of things that really stood out to us. This building has been a wonderful spot for rentals for a long time. A little bit of resources need invested to make sure that it can continue to be a good spot for rentals. Those of you who are on the commission have been attending these meetings have seen the potential for it as a meeting space and the downsides to it as well. But we think it can be a great spot for rentals. We encourage Parks and Rec to consider about a reestablishment of Railroad Days as an annual fundraiser for this facility, both to fund the operations of it and also as a source of community pride. Railroad Days is a strong brand. It hasn't happened in Topeka for a while, but most of us remember it. We think that has a lot of value. Researching the history of Great Overland Station, there were a number of successful fundraisers that they were doing, including Harvey Girl Luncheons and other similar events that we think should be continued or looked into. We also proposed the idea of vendor fairs, so essentially events where vendors would pay fees to be able to sell goods at the Great Overland Station, enhancements to the gift shop, a number of really exciting possible ways to bring the community into the Great Overland Station and integrate the Great Overland Station into the larger community to really get some buy-in. So there's some fundraising potential there, and there's also just a lot of excitement around getting people into the facility again and making sure people understand what an asset it is to the community and also attract visitors to the community. We also, in that section of the report, talked about the other structures on the Great Overland Station grounds. So we receive a few other buildings. The office building that is south of the Great Overland Station has a lot of potential for potential office use. It's very cluttered right now. There's a lot of stuff in there that would take some work, and you see that in potential problems. And also the rail cars that are to the east of Great Overland Station have a lot of potential value as spaces for rent and spaces for event use. Next section of the report that I dealt with was fundraising. And this is important to me. I think the Great Overland Station is something the community will support, but we have to be able to do the right things early on when acquiring this property. So I encouraged that the Parks for All Foundation creates designated funds and two separate designated funds, one for the Great Overland Station and one specifically for the Veterans Memorial. I think the Board of County Commissioners is well aware of the status of the Veterans Memorial and the concerns about ongoing maintenance of that. That's a huge priority for us. We want to make sure donors can support that specifically. So the creation of designated funds, and I believe there's already been some progress on that. There's also a real need to preserve and protect donor records. That facility is full of a lot of binders, lists, spreadsheets that have lots of donor information. We need to make sure those things are preserved. We also need to make sure donor confidentiality and donor intent is protected. So that becomes a real priority for Parks and Rec, and that takes resources. So that's one piece of the work that Parks and Rec is going to end up doing if they manage this facility, is making sure that people who have given to that organization over time have their records preserved, maintained in the way they need to be, they're communicated with in the way that they need to be, and that's critical. There are a few specific fundraising recommendations that probably fall to the Parks for All Foundation regarding top donor meetings and direct mail to make sure we're communicating with those people who have invested their personal resources in this space. Just because it's under different ownership doesn't mean we don't still honor those donors, communicate with those donors, and make sure they're heard. So that becomes a really critical part of the work that Parks and Rec and the Parks for All Foundation do. Supportive collateral is a piece of that, and helping identify different stakeholders in the community become a piece of that too. It's critical for the future of this building that people in the community who have put time, energy, money into it continue to be engaged and hopefully continue to support the building. That's all for me, Terry. Do we have Joe?
I'm checking. Joe, are you on the phone?
He has a
Okay,
phone.
you're on, Joe. I think that's your number, 5968. You can talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I am so sorry. I'm working between two devices and it looked like they were muting and then unmuting. So let me just make this quick. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to make this presentation. And I want to thank Tim for participating in our meetings. We met about 5 months. There's probably a couple hundred man hours involved in this report. And so let me just give you the highlights. It's a 5-page report with about 160 pages of attachments and exhibits. Please focus on the comments that we made about recommendations and the budget and operational funds that are needed. I think if this report is at least looked at seriously for the amount of work and involvement and the caliber of the people that were involved putting it together, I think you'll have a track to be successful with this. And because of the glitch here, I want to just go ahead and go back to Terry. And I want to thank all my committee members, especially Laura and Terry and Ty, and of course the director for helping be involved. We went through all the buildings, went through all but one of the cars, and we looked at many, many documents. So I want to thank you for your patience and your time for letting us present this report.
Thank you, Joe. So we have an official recommendation. It's in the cover memo presented by Tim. And that recommendation is that the Great Overland Station report be sent to the Board of County Commissioners and that they accept the gift of the Great Overland Station if they commit to full funding and secure joint funding with the city of Topeka and potential additional outside funding from community groups. I wanted to share with you that this was not a unanimous decision. There was full and deliberate debate, that we had opposition to one particular provision in the motion, and we went through several versions of the motion. There were 3 people who opposed, and which is recorded on the motion, the language that talks about securing joint funding with the city of Topeka. Why is that? Well, upon full review of an explanation of the past funding of the Great Overland Station, the city of Topeka, through TGT funds from 2002 to 2012, in a resolution, committed $200,000 for 10 years to the Great Overland Station, certainly recognizing the potential, the community gym that it is, and preserving it. And there was a strong belief by the majority of the advisory committee members that something related to that be laid into this motion so that it is on the table for future consideration as the Board of County Commissioners goes on funding this into perpetuity. So again, there was a lot of discussion about that. And we all respect those who opposed that particular provision, but a majority did not. And so it was laid in there. And as Laura very eloquently described, a need to preserve the donors. So that language related to potential additional outside funding, and our recommendation related to the 2 different funds over at the Park for All Foundation is significant if fundraising is going to occur. Like if we had railroad days, things like that, that would contribute to the the funding mechanism in the future. I would like to thank personally Tim Morant for supporting us in our task force. We met a lot. We requested a lot of documents. We felt it was also important, and I want to say Joe was like the taskmaster on this, that we give you all the documents that we reviewed. So we believe it is a fairly comprehensive legal and historical document, as well as the plots of land and maps and pictures. And so that 166 pages includes that. So it's on the record in the future if anybody was ever going to go back and look at some information. It is, we feel that is very complete. And I want to thank Tim for providing the documents we requested. I also want to thank Bob St. John and Beth Fager. During the initial discussion that the advisory committee had, they were both incredibly forthcoming, transparent, willing to provide us whatever we want. That cannot go understated. They were generous with their time talking to us, pleasant, and we probably didn't give them the recommendation they wanted to go for a 6-month lease, but we felt it was important for due diligence in all respects. And I want to thank them. They both, Bob and Beth, were incredibly supportive through this process. And lastly, I want to thank Joe, Laura Burton, and Ty Heiston, who could not be with us today, who were the other committee members that met religiously to go through these documents and come up with this report. So that's our recommendation. You have it in front of you. And I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for the time to conduct this advisory committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I read this report and I thought it was excellent. You guys did a very thorough job. I know you put a tremendous amount of hours into this report. That's obvious. And but your team did just a fantastic job. I want to thank Laura, Terry, Joe, and Ty, and Tim, of course, for all this work that you put in there. And I think it gives us a good baseline going forward. It's historic information that we'll need. And it also echoes a lot of thoughts I had about the Great Overland Station, what I feel like we need to do, the direction we need to pursue. So I just want to thank you for doing a great job. So thank you very much. So,
I'd like to echo those sentiments. Yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments. Having read through this, it is it's of the quality that I would expect from a paid consultant, and I know you guys did this in your spare time for free, and it's fantastic. I really appreciate the work you guys have done, and then also the work that Railroad Heritage Incorporated has done with Beth and Bob. You guys have kind of gotten this building to be the gem that it is, and so we really appreciate your care of the building for all these years, and I'm really excited about the possibilities. I do have fond memories of railroad days when I was a kid. They weren't held at the Great Overland Station, though. They were out at Forbes Field, if I remember correctly, but I think that would be a lot of fun if we can get that back up and running. And then, every time we go to the Great Overland Station, I look at that memorial and it saddens me a little bit to see the condition that it's in. So I'm excited that we can get that thing back up to its former glory. And I think that our community is going to come together pretty easily to raise the money to do that. I think it's something that people will care about once they know that it's an issue. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see this proceed. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
I was just going to ask Tim if he has any comments or thoughts on the recommendations as the Parks and Rec Director, in which way we, as the Board of County Commissioners, should be looking at the acquisition and operations of the Great Overland Station, given the recommendations.
Yeah, well, thank you, Commissioner Cook, for that question. I'm excited about the possibilities that were raised in the study, and I echo those comments that have been made previously. This committee was fantastic. I mean, they left no stone unturned. very thorough, very professional, and I enjoyed that process. My personal feelings on it are that we're prepared to continue operations, and I think that we're excited about what the possibilities hold. Railroad days, for one, I think that's in my opinion a no-brainer. We want to bring that back. We want to try to generate some excitement around the Great Overland Station, and I think we're poised to do that.
I also wanted to thank Railroad Heritage. I remember when that was just a shell of a building burnout, and I know Bob St. John, Beth Fager, Max Press, those people put a lot of time and effort into returning that building to its original splendor from when it was built in 1927. And it is truly a treasure for Topeka. And I'm just glad to do what little part I can to help continue that iconic building that we have here. So I applaud the Railroad Heritage for all the time and effort they put into it. People have no idea how many grants and how much money they had to raise to get that building back to restore it to its original splendor. So thank you, people. Thank you all.
Thank you. Can I say a little something here?
Sure, Beth.
Just, I'm blown away by the report. I think you all did a fabulous job of analyzing. There was a lot of paper to go through and a lot of work to be done, but I think you're spot on with the recommendations, and great job. And we have enjoyed our minimal working with Parks and Rec staff. You haven't really called on us very much. You've just kind of taken the reins and gone, and have done very good things so far. I feel confident really in what you can do going forward. I'm very excited about it. And thank you everyone for all your work. Great job.
Thank you, Beth. All right. Anyone else wish to speak about the Great Overland Station?
Well, if this is Bob St. John, also with Railroad Heritage, if I would just echo the comments that Beth made. We have enjoyed working with Tim and his staff over the period of from roughly mid-July, I guess, until the present. We've had lots of discussions with particularly John Bell and Susan Hensler and so on. We applaud the work that they have done. Very impressed with the care and the excitement that we've seen from county staff with the possibilities that have been identified. So we certainly support the vote that you'll be taking today, hopefully to accept the donation of this community treasurer.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
Just one more thing from me. That my biggest takeaway, or what I hope is a big takeaway from the entirety of the report, is that this is a building with enormous potential, but it does require enormous investment. And we can only see its potential if we are fully funding it and making sure that Parks and Rec has the resources they need to see that potential happen.
Good point. All right. Jim, do we need to make a motion now to accept the report or to accept the donation, or both? Or
We have an item later on the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
oh, okay. All right.
Correct. This is a presentation. We'll turn to the action item here shortly in the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Madam Clerk, what's our next item?
Next item is item 3, consent agenda.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have 2 voucher reports as we have for many months now. The first voucher is what we would classify as our normal vouchers, and that was $915,013.03. The highlights out of that voucher report: Capers, $349,509.21. The Sewer District, $43,607.87. Under the Shawnee County Sheriff, $71,811.50. Parks and Recreation, $70,775.43. IT, $65,648.41. And then holding accounts with the state of Kansas, $61,383.77. Those are the highlights out of that voucher report. Under the CARES Act voucher was $75,717.83. And that went to community-based programs, which include the Darting Basketball Academy, Helping Hands Humane Society, Kansas Children's Discovery Center, and Ronald McDonald House. Under municipalities was the City of Auburn. Under schools was USD 450 Shawnee Heights. And then under the taxing authority was the Grove Township. Having reviewed both sets of vouchers, I have no questions. Would move for approval of both vouchers.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I move that we approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 3, consider authorization and execution of contract C539-2020 with Willis Towers Watson Midwest, Inc. for the Shawnee County 2021 property insurance coverage. And Commissioners, every year we have our presentation. This is coverage for our property, both our commercial and our equipment, our automobiles, our above ground storage, our below ground storage, the crime, the excess workers' compensation, our professional liability for the health department, which some of the premiums don't come due until a little later in the year, but we wanted to we present the whole thing to you so you can ask any questions. Since we have our professional people here, Jan Mason and Kent Miller are here from Willis of Greater Kansas, and they will, I will hand it over to them because they know if you have any questions, they will tell you more about the problem, about the plan, okay?
Good morning. My name is Kent Miller. I represent Willis Towers Watson as your primary client advocate, and I work with Jan Mason, who is the account executive. We are proposing, actually, before we propose, does anybody have any questions on the insurance market in general? It's what we consider in the insurance industry a fairly firm marketplace, meaning there's lots of insurance increases this year, as well as low capacity due to all the windstorms, the hurricanes and floods and fires and social unrest and stuff going on in our country over the past year and a half, 2 years, driving a lot of insurance rates. If there's no questions in general, I would like to proceed and discuss your insurance renewal options.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
Great. Well, we represent hundreds of insurance carriers out there. So we take your policies out to bid every 2 to 5 years, depending on market conditions. This was a year we felt prudent to take it out to market conditions. The average rate increase in general is going up 15 to 18% in this area of the country for this type of business and most types of business. We were able to secure an option for Shawnee County, which is relatively flat of premiums. It does show an 8% increase, 8.6% increase this year, but that has some new coverages of flood and earthquake, as well as truing up your property values up a couple of points. But if, you know, apples to apples, we're fairly flat with this new option, taking your coverage from Travelers Insurance to Intact. Intact is a very solid insurance company that we represent. It is an A+ carrier. It's just as solid as Travelers, and that would minimize your premiums, as well as we could keep your. Another reason we wanted to take it out to bid is Travelers wanted to give you a 1% wind hail deductible on your property. By going this route, we can keep it down to a flat $50,000 deductible. So your property deductible would go from $10,000 to $50,000, as opposed to where Travelers want to take you not only with a rate increase, but they wanted to take you up to a 1% wind hail deductible. So we felt this was, personally, and I have a lot of business in the area, this is one of the better renewals that we've been able to secure. So we're very pleased to present this renewal. And we can go through line by line if you'd like and go through a little bit more detail. But at this point in time, does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can you go back through just again that portion about our deductibles? I mean, currently we have a $10,000 deductible. I just want to make sure that we're really clear on where we're going to be at in the upcoming year.
Yeah, was that to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So right now, Travelers would have taken you from a $10,000 deductible up to a 1% wind hail deductible with a minimum of $100,000 deductible. We went to 7 or 8 different insurance strategic partners of ours that work on your type of business, and we were able to find Intact, which is a very good insurance company, and the deductible will stay at a $10,000 all peril deductible. So everything outside of wind and hail. The wind and hail is going to be $50,000 moving forward with Intact.
And I just think that that's pretty important for us to highlight, and something that will need to be highlighted for our department heads. And I know Ms. Beck often will gather, when we have a claim, gather all of those claims so that to see if they hit that $50,000 threshold.
And that would be a per event. So if you guys have a tornado, that would be an example of, or a hailstorm, straight line winds, anything that could cause that type of, across your program.
Now, if we have one windstorm that comes through on April the 1st and hits 10 buildings, and we have an aggregate of over $50,000, then it would be something that would have met the threshold.
Jan, I'm going to make sure yes, that would be the case. What I want to be clear on is if you have a $5,000 claim one day and then 2 weeks later you have another $15,000, it's got to be one event that has a $50,000 or more.
Okay.
And I'll also want to just not remind everybody, but let you all know, in the state of Kansas and many other states, most carriers are going to this 1 to 2 to 3% wind hail deductible. So it's something that probably need to prepare for in the future. We were able to avoid that this year, but as the weather patterns change and as the insurance markets tighten up, this is something we're going to be, I feel like we should prepare for to see in the future. It's
a real quick question. And I don't know, Kent, if you're the right guy to answer this, but also maybe the clerk, Cindy. So the flood insurance appears to be mainly for Crestview Community Center. And Crestview, there was a huge flood there earlier this year in that area. I guess I'm curious, did we make a claim on that affected the underwriting? Was there
No.
damage at Crestview that?
Yeah, this is Jan Mason. There was not a claim made, but Cindy, did it get up to that value or to that limit?
Because we checked it out and we did the coverage we have that we're proposing, Commissioner, is the flood insurance that we have on Crestview. We've had that for years, but we're proposing flood and earthquake insurance for the entire county, which we've never had before. We have not had that. And maybe either Kent or Jan could explain a little further what that coverage will involve.
Yeah, and one of the things we'll need to discuss is whether we continue with the current policy that we've got for Crestview or roll it into this blanket. And so we'll have two different blanket limits depending on where the buildings are located. If they're in a very high hazard flood zone, they will have no coverage. So if there are specific buildings in those locations where we want coverage, we'll need to secure separate coverage. But otherwise, we'll have a 2.5 million per occurrence limit or a 5 million per occurrence limit, depending on where the location of the building is.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
That was a question that I had earlier this week with Jan and Kent as we were preparing for this meeting. And I had asked some questions about the coverage for the Stormont Vale Event Center, since it is now reclassified very close to the FEMA floodplain. Also looking at the acquisition of the Great Overland Station, given that it's very close to the levee and the Kansas River and also the North Annex. And I don't know, Jan or Kent, can you kind of outline the email that you had sent to me earlier this week?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. The Stormont Vale Center, it's very close, like you said, to the flood zone, but Intact has agreed to give us the 5 million each occurrence limit. And then the North Annex was one of your questions. It will have the 2.5 million limit. And the Crestview would be 2.5 million. And then the Great Overland Station will have we'll be able to have the $5 million limit.
Now, also, my understanding is that the trails are not covered. So this last spring where we had the incident along the Shunga Creek that washed out a portion of the trail, that's not covered by our insurance carrier, and that would not be covered by this policy. And if we were to look at something for that, we would need a separate policy. Is that correct?
Probably we might be able to endorse the Intact policy. We just need to have further discussions with them, and we need to find out what exactly we want to insure them against, what perils, and then what values.
Does this policy just cover buildings? Are there other, I can't think of other, maybe playgrounds or something like that, or are they covered, or is it just buildings?
Mainly the buildings, and then the contents, the personal property in the buildings, okay. And then loss of business income or extra expense.
But Commissioner, there are things like our, when we have the playground equipment at some of the parks, it's going in at $80,000 to $100,000, the whole setup, that's being covered. We have items listed on, it's called the property items. They are being there. We have a big, long list of all of those. Even the archway over at the cemetery, that's covered. I mean, all of these things are covered. But it's not under the same insurance policy that the buildings are covered under.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you want to direct us either direct both Kent and Jan to do further research on what it would entail to get coverage, because as far as on the trails, do you want just the trails that are close by water? Do you want the entire trails covered? Like Jan said, we'd have to check what kind of liability you want. Are we, what we're going to cover on that, as opposed to what we have now. Right now, we self-insure for whatever happens.
I think we should look at where our trails are close to. I mean, most of the trail network is close to a water body, either the Shunga Creek, the Kansas River, Lake Shawnee. And then, so, I mean, and then also looking at if there's any potential crime that would occur or destruction. I know we've not had a lot, but I think that it would benefit us to look at what that coverage might look like and what it might cost.
Okay, I will, Jan and Kent, they will come forward with that. And then obviously we will present this to Betty because there has to be a, is the premium going to offset what the, an annual premium going to offset what our out of pocket would be if we, we just continue carrying our liability, self-insured for our liability as we currently are. So,
yeah. And I could tell you that when you're dealing around the water like that, the pricing is going to be significant, but for the exposure. But we'll certainly take a look at that and provide options.
Okay.
I would say that, if we look into that, let's maybe consider that for next year. I assume this is an annual
yes.
renewal. Okay, so I would go ahead and just move to approve this today.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan. Next item.
Item B, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-540-2020 agreement and supporting documents and deed from Railroad Heritage, Inc. to include Parks and Recreation leasing to RHI a listed space for $1 per year for 4 years.
Morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. Yes, as we've already heard earlier today, we're operating the Great Overland Station. We're excited about what the future holds. The department supports taking it over. I do have Beth Fager and Bob St. John on the call. So if you have any questions for any of us, please feel free to ask.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Tim, in the recommendation, there was the call to action that the Shawnee County set aside $350,000 annually for operational cost for the Great Overland Station. Have you looked at that recommendation, looked at your budget? I mean, are you requesting that the Shawnee County Commission look at adding to your budget? If we were going to do that, we would need to look to see where that money would come from and where we would draw it from. And I know Ms. Griner's on the call as well, but also looking at whether or not we would need to amend our budget.
Yes, I'm not specifically asking for that at this time. We did ask for additional funding when we did our budget presentation for 2021, and we did receive some extra funding. So I believe it was $200,000 that we did get to help operate. Quite honestly, the additional $150,000 would be helpful. If we're able to get that, great. If not, then you're right. We will have to find ways to operate out of our current budget.
Any other questions? I would make a motion to authorize and execute the agreement.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. Let's do a roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
I vote yes, but I also am concerned about the operational costs and know that we're going to need to work very hard and diligently to help get the Parks and Rec Department in a place where they can bring the money in to offset those operational costs, but I am a yes.
Mays,
Yep.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
item B2, consider authorization and execution of contract C541-2020, amendment to contract C533-2015 with the Topeka, Kansas Quarter Midget Association for the continuation of the parkland lease and use of the track area at Shawnee South Community Park through December 31, 2025, with the club agreeing to contribute $1,000 annually to the Parks and Recreation Building Maintenance Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. We have a great relationship with the Quarter Midget group, and they do a great job of maintaining that area and keeping it in good shape. And we look forward to working with them in the future, and would ask that you approve this contract extension.
Any questions, comments?
No, I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C, Health Department, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C542-2020 with Dennis Cooley, MD, to serve as the interim health officer for Shawnee County from December 14 to December 31, 2020, at a cost not to exceed $10,000 to be paid by COVID-19 grant funds and the Health Department tax allocation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oakes from the Health Department. Dr. Cooley has agreed to be our interim health officer while we continue to try to find a permanent health officer. This agreement is only dated through the end of the year. There would have to be some other arrangements made if you want to extend it any longer than that. And I have visited with Jim Crowell and Ashley Biegert at the County Counselor's Office about this, and they are aware of the situation. Also want to thank them for helping us pull this agreement together. Ashley pulled it together very quickly. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Oh, just a comment. I want to thank Dr. Cooley for his willingness to step into this role for the short period of time that is the remainder of 2020. It's been a rough year for everyone. I know he's been along with us for this ride, and I think it's great that he's willing to do this for the time being. And so, congratulations to Dr. Cooley for the role, or condolences, I guess, if it were.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would echo that gratitude to Dr. Cooley for stepping up so that we can continue the programs and the work that the Health Department does in this interim period. And so my gratitude to Dr. Cooley for allowing us to continue to serve the Shawnee County citizens. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure, but I think that Commissioner Mays was making a motion to approve.
Unofficially, I guess. I didn't say the words, but I will make a motion that we approve this.
And I would second.
I too would like to thank Dr. Cooley for stepping up here and thank him for all of his work that he's done this year. So thank you. Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item. Thank you, Linda.
Item D, Emergency Management. Number 1, consider approval of request to approve grants to first responder agencies in the amount of $72,409.27.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castile, Ambulance Compliance Officer. This is the annual awarding of the grants for the first responder agencies. As part of the new contract with AMR that was signed in 2016, all fines and penalties that are assessed against them for the various parameters that they fail to meet are put into a special revenue fund. After the June 1st of each year, that fund balance is made available to the 9 first responder agencies throughout the county to submit for grants. They have until July 1st to do that. The Ambulance Advisory Board then looks at those grants and makes a recommendation to you as to which ones to approve, makes any modifications, and that's what's here in front of you right now. And I'm going to share my screen here. These are the 7 that were received. The first column there says requested amount. That's how much they wanted. The next column is what the Ambulance Advisory Board approved or recommended your approval. And then out to the side is either the reasoning for the change or a clarification, or just as you see on the last one, they're approved as it was turned in. I would stand for any questions you might have.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would note that this was a long debate by the Ambulance Advisory Board. I want to thank the Ambulance Advisory Board and all the members for their participation, as well as each of the chiefs from the different fire districts. There was a lot of work and discussion that went into this, and it was a healthy debate among the group as to these awards.
Any other comments, questions? Is this an annual grant that we apply for?
Yes, sir. On June 1st of every year, the amount of money that's in the special revenue fund becomes available. And from June 1st to July 1st, the rural fire chiefs, based on the resolutions and parameters you previously approved, then can submit grant requests.
Okay. Thank you, Nelson.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval. I would move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Nelson. Next item.
Item E, Court Administration, number 1, consider approval of a 12-month subscription beginning December 18th, 2020 for 151 user licenses of Splashtop Business Access Pro version to support remote work for judges, staff, and employees of the 3rd Judicial District and the Shawnee County District Court in the amount of $7,474.50 to be paid through the court budget, with reimbursement through the Office of Judicial Administration's CARES Act funding.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, Shawnee County District Court and 3rd Judicial District. This is a subscription for 151 licenses for Splashtop Pro version, which is what we use throughout the court for our remote work. By agreeing to pay for a year subscription, and prior to the end of this calendar year, we were able to secure a 50% reduction in cost, which brought the cost from almost $15,000 to just under $7,500. This item has been approved by the Office of Judicial Administration Fiscal Officer for CARES Act reimbursement, and I'm requesting permission to pay this through the court budget, and the court budget being reimbursed by the Office of Judicial Administration. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? I will then move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Lee.
Absolutely.
Next item.
Item F, Public Works. Number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2020-89, acknowledging a petition filed by 100% of the owners of the land affected and approval to create a Timber Ridge Subdivision Street Benefit District Phase 5 authorizing additional street improvements to an estimated cost of $429,000 with 100% appropriation of the improvement cost to Timber Ridge subdivision and 0% to the county.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Hunt, Deputy Director of Public Works. Bond Counsel wasn't able to be at the meeting today, so I am filling in to present this item. The reference Timber Ridge project is located near 53rd and Wanamaker. I can share my screen here. Hopefully this works. The benefit district is highlighted there in the map. This project is for the construction of the street portion of the subdivision to serve Timber Ridge sub number 2. The developers have constructed the sanitary sewer system. They're working with the rural water division to get the water lines out there, and they are currently constructing the storm sewer. This improvement will also connect the 2 existing parts of Timber Ridge subdivision to help improve access and to provide 2 points of access out to 53rd Street. The developer is Doltmeyer Roland Hagen LLC. All costs for this project will be paid by the developers. The developers have provided all the necessary documents required for the petition, and at this time I will stand for questions.
Any questions? None. I will move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item F2, consider approval of change order number 2 final to contract number C 34-2019 with Bettis Asphalt and Construction, Inc., reflecting the final as-is constructed quantities to those of as-bid quantities, resulting in a price increase of $66,933.21 for the Southeast 29th Street I-470 KTA Bridge to Southeast Croco Road project. New and final contract price of $8,662,961.10.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. Now that the construction work on Southeast 29th Street is complete, it's time to final out the project. We have a change order 2, which encompasses as bid versus as constructed quantities. Generally, the unit prices do not change. Just as a friendly reminder, this is change order number 2. Change order number 1 dealt with the Croco Road from 21st to 29th mill and overlay earlier this year. So with that, I'll take your questions. One thing I do want to make clear is even with these change orders, the project came in under budget. And so I look forward to any questions that you might have.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Kurt, if I do my math correctly, we came in under budget by $117,316.58.
Your math is correct.
Okay.
But again, that includes the $313,000 that we spent on Croco Road.
So we actually came in more than 400,000, almost 500,000 under budget when you take in that part.
Correct.
Now this excess that we have, that will then be rolled over towards our work on 29th Street. Is that accurate?
It'll likely roll over to our coming 2021 work on Southeast 45th Street.
And then, Kurt, the other question I had is, as far as our overall timeline, did we come in at expected timeline for completion, or did we end it ahead of time?
The contractor did a great job. They came in they finished within the timeline that was established by original contract and revised by the revision earlier this year that changed the final completion date from a December date to November 23rd. So kudos to our contracting partner, Bettis, for completion on time.
And then, Mr. Chairman, the last question I have for you, Kurt, is this last fall, we had some meetings with the homeowners at Aquarian Acres with some concerns about the grading along 21st Street. Are we going to be taking a look at that as we come into the spring and making sure that there aren't any issues or concerns that they had expressed to us?
Commissioner Cook, what we plan to do is contact each of the landowners in that specific area on the north side of Southeast 29th. I'm hopeful now that the project is complete that they will see how nice it is in the area of their backyard, and no changes will be required. But again, we will reach out to each of the homeowners to make sure they feel the same way.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I would move for approval of the change order, again, noting the completion ahead of schedule and under budget, and thanking Bettis for their hard work.
I would second that, and thank you guys for a project well done. I drove through it just a couple days ago, and on our way out to the Winter Wonderland, and I was impressed. It's a really nice street, so I'll second that.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you too. It's always good to come in ahead of time and under budget. So, all right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Roll call vote.
Rippon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Kurt. Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
All right, this time, anybody who would like to speak on any subject? Looks like we
Good morning,
have Craig
Commissioners.
Barnes.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. Craig Barnes, Shawnee County Health Department. Just wanted to take the opportunity, similar to last week on Thursday, to give a COVID testing update for our community. So I'm going to share my screen with you real quickly. And again, so this is the website that we shared as part of our press briefing last Thursday. This is the Go Get Tested Kansas webpage for the expanded testing statewide initiative. And so what I wanted to share here first off was that the website has been updated. We are going to be, in partnership with Well Health in the state, launching an additional site here in Topeka starting tomorrow. That will be at the Topeka Shawnee County Public Library that you'll see here on the left bar. So starting tomorrow, there will be 4 sites. You'll see this one here at Hummer Sports Park, the site that will be at the library, Topeka Housing Authority, as well as New Mount Zion Baptist Church. What I did want to share as well with you all today is, since we launched the first site as a partnership with this expanded testing campaign, so far 3,564 tests have been taken at the 3 sites that have been right now operational in Shawnee County. And those are not all just Shawnee County residents. So I did want to make sure that I point that out. A lot of our neighboring counties have not had the opportunity to stand up sites. And so we are getting a lot of individuals that are coming in from outside our community that may be working here in our community. So that's one of the things that's, I think, exciting about this testing expansion is simply the fact that we're able to expand our testing to both symptomatic and asymptomatic individuals, but also make testing available for those individuals in other counties who may not have had access to it that actually work here in Shawnee County. So again, our vision and mission as the health department is to try to work to address those gaps, not only for our residents, but those who come here to work as well. And so I think with the help of the state, we've been able to do that with this testing expansion. So again, the website up here, Go Get Tested Kansas. You can go on here to book a test. You can click on the interactive map here for the location that's closest to you. or use the button at the top that'll take you to a location to put your phone number in, and then go through a scheduling process to set up at that point. And with that, any questions that I may be able to answer for you today?
Craig, I've got a question. With these testing sites, which I think are fantastic that we've got these available now, but with them being able to test asymptomatic folks, so people that don't have symptoms at all going in there, are we seeing a discrepancy from other testing in terms of percent positives, or is this consistent with what we're seeing elsewhere?
Yeah, I think we're still analyzing all of the data that's coming in right now. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think the percent positivity rate that we've seen at these sites is hovering around 5%. And I'm trying to get the data specific as a breakdown as to what the percentage of individuals who are coming into these locations are asymptomatic versus symptomatic. So once I get that from Well Health, I will make sure to share that information out, and then we'll be able to do a little bit deeper analysis to your point and give you a more concrete answer.
Yeah, I think it's just good information to know. I'm sure that the data exists. It just I haven't seen it personally yet. So I would appreciate that when you guys get that available.
Definitely. Any other questions I can answer for you this morning?
Craig, I just want to thank you for all the hard work that the health department's been doing in getting all of these sites set up. I know that that's a major undertaking and a lot of man hours in getting that done.
Thank you very much. We've got a great team here at the health department and working diligently. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I know
All
you
right,
guys have
thank you.
had quite a year. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Yeah, I would like to speak, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
This is Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. I just want to say a quick thank you to Linda Oakes on behalf of myself and my staff. Thank you for doing the job, Linda, and more importantly, how you did the job. You've been the definition of a professional. The phrase grace under pressure comes to mind when I think about what we've worked on over the last year. And I just want to let you know we appreciate it and we will miss you. Thank you.
You stole my thunder, Jim. I was I was planning on saying something as well. Linda, if people are unaware, Linda retires tomorrow, I believe, is your last day. If that's not okay, yeah. So tomorrow, Linda is someone that I feel I've worked relatively closely with over the last year that I've been on the commission, and I cannot imagine a more well-deserved retirement than after this year. I think the amount of hours and stress that you've put in over the last year will make your retirement even more sweeter. So congratulations, Linda. Thank you from myself and from the folks of Shawnee County.
I would also echo those gratitude. Commissioner Ensley, if he was here, he would give you 2 thumbs up. And so thank you for everything that you've done. And I hope that you enjoy many hours riding your bike and enjoying life.
Linda, you're not going to be able to get the grin off your face for weeks, probably. But thank you for all the hard work. And I know I probably added to your stress level as much as anything, but thank you very much. You were very professional throughout this whole COVID event we've been going through. And I just want to let you know, I do appreciate what you do and all the hard work and all the managing of all your staff. They've done a tremendous job. So thank you very much, and have a great retirement.
Yeah, it's my understanding that there is a plan to have a more formal retirement party someday for you after COVID is gone. So let's hope that comes, and we'll get that. We'll get an invitation sent to you when that comes around. So.
Thank you, commissioners and everyone. It's been great working with you. And I am going to not fail retirement like Commissioner Rippon did. We always joked about him failing retirement. So I'm going to try to be successful in retirement and pass it with an A, get out there and ride my bike. But I do appreciate all the hard work you all do. It's a tough job too. And so I appreciate you. I appreciate Jim, Betty, Kurt, Bill Sutton, worked with him, Tim, his staff, Cindy, your staff, everyone, Angela, you guys, Dusty. We just have great department heads here. So keep up the good work because I do live here. And so, and as I'll just remind Commissioner Mays, I become your constituent tomorrow night. So you may hear from me. So thank you all very much.
I'll look forward to that. Yeah.
Well, you say that now. We'll see if you still say that. But I do hope that the health department can have a party for all the people who've retired during these past few months. We've had several retirements. And so we hope to all get back together and have cake and party together. And so we'll let you know when that happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, there's another employee that's retiring this week, Steve Atch, out at he works with Lee Allen GIS department. He put a lot of maps together for me over the years, and I just wanted to acknowledge him too. So Steve, he likes to ride his bike as much as Linda, so I hope he has all this time now to ride every trail he wants to ride. So kudos to him. Commissioner Mays, what have you been up to?
Probably similar things to everyone else right now. So I don't have much to share today other than, you know, we did get to go through the TARC Winter Wonderland a few days ago, had a great time. I'd still encourage everybody to do that. I know there are other Christmas light options this year, but this one makes a big difference for TARC. And so go through twice if you can.
Mr. Cook?
I have 3 days left in quarantine, not that I'm counting, and looking forward to getting out and being able to actually leave my house and enjoy the rest of the world safely. And I also want to thank Steve for all of his hard work. Many of you may know, or some of you may not know, Steve always donated very generously for the Topeka Food Bank and all of the projects, and making sure that we had people that were taken care of here in Shawnee County.
Always very benevolent. I have nothing to add, and we do not have a need for executive session, so we are adjourned. Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Okay.